Hey everyone, Discordian Kitty here. Today we're going to be talking horrific visions and whether or not there's anything about them that we should be worried about. When horrific visions were first introduced during Battle for Azeroth, it was because the old god N'Zoth was attempting to weaken the borders between our own reality and his ideal alternate reality of Ny'alotha, where the old god still ruled Azeroth and just about everyone seems loyal to N'Zoth. And N'Zoth is a weird one, so his visions truly are horrific, providing us with nightmarish versions of Stormwind and Orgrimmar to explore. Though we defeated N'Zoth, a lot of the lore community, myself included, believe he's undefeated and hiding in a certain dagger, but more on that another time. We're still revisiting these visions thanks to the help of the Bronze Dragonflight, who have decided these memories may still contain hints on how to defeat the Void going forward, something we need to know if we have any hope of defeating Xal'atath. It's not the strongest lore reason for revisiting old content that we've ever had, but it's not the weakest either, and if nothing else, we can get some really cool voidy cosmetics for the whole thing. Oh, and revisiting the visions did remind me of that ethereal who got us to bring them crystals because they were seeking to extract power from the mind of N'Zoth. That's pretty interesting in hindsight, considering all the ethereal stuff happening in the war within at the moment. Still, N'Zoth's vision of the future can't help but hit a bit close to home in some places. There are things we see that we're not entirely certain won't ever happen, even now. Terrible things. See, the thing about the old gods is they don't actually need to just randomly make up stuff. They find people's weaknesses and darkest fears and can play on that. Like any nightmare, these visions often reveal fears that are embedded deep within the subconscious mind. So what did the horrific visions of Stormwind and Orgrimmar reveal about the characters who feature in them, their fears and their weaknesses? Could any of the predictions made in these visions still come true? I'm not going to cover every single thing we see. Like, could the children of Stormwind perform a demonic-looking ritual? Probably, they've done it before, but it's not going to have any major impact on the story anytime soon. So for this video, I'd rather focus on the more lore-significant nightmares. Horrific visions started with Stormwind, so we will as well. And the most obvious and important part of this vision is the future where Alleria has fallen to the Void. Thrall lies dying outside the cathedral. Presumably, Alleria is the one who fatally wounded him.
Please, save my son.
Alleria is inside, and despite Arator's pleadings, she sacrifices her son to the Void.
Mother, do not listen to the whispers.
I've ignored them for too long. They speak the truth, Arator, and you will hear them. I will make you hear them.
No, I will never.
When she dies, she regains just enough of herself to feel terrible remorse.
What have I done?
Let's be frank, N'Zoth isn't winning any originality points with this one. Almost every character in World of Warcraft's history who has chosen to work with the Void has fallen to its whispers. Although that's not fair, or entirely true. Many Shadow Priests have managed to work with the Void so successfully and for so long, they were even officially allowed to be part of Netherlight Temple during Legion, a move that would have once been considered so heretical it'd be unheard of. The human priest Natalie Celine even managed to wield Xal'atath for a considerable amount of time, and she's still fine. A lot of her followers fell to Shadow, and she had to avoid her own death by sending her spirit into the Void so that she could survive being murdered. But the point is, she's still sane and wielding the Shadow, and hasn't tried to do anything like the horrible things we see some followers of the Void doing in horrific visions. Even so, working with the Void is generally very dangerous. As I said, a lot of Celine's Shadow Priest followers did fall to madness and do exactly the sort of horrible things we see in horrific visions. Plenty of characters who have tried really hard not to fall to the Void's whispers have been overcome anyway. The old gods are really good at what they do. This is partly because they don't just lie, they mix lies with the truth. A good example is how they got to Deathwing. In charge of the aspects, Deathwing reveals to Thrall how, to him, being made the aspect of Earth was more of a punishment than a gift. And he even shows Thrall what a burden it was. Know what it is to feel the weight of this dying world on your shoulders. Thrall's legs trembled as every rock in Azeroth pressed down on him. His body splintered and cracked. It was beyond physical agony. His spirit was unraveling, suffocated by the unfathomable load. Does the gift taste as sweet as you thought it would? Deathwing asked in amusement. Deathwing goes on to reveal how the old gods gained his loyalty. The Titans, he felt, had imprisoned him. The old gods promised to free him. If so inclined, the Titans would exterminate your kind and the other lesser races without a second thought. The old gods know the futility of the Titans' works. They have pledged to break the shackles of my charge. It is ironic that Iridikron, the Primalist of Earth, has also agreed to work with the Void for largely the same stated reasons.
Tell me, little one, have you ever questioned why the Titans preserve this timeline?
The Titans safeguard our world from monsters like you!
Your faith means nothing to them. As you burn in the flames of my brother's wrath, they will not come. All they wanted was our world. With this, the Harbinger will pry it from their grasp. And when the Titans come to reclaim their prize, I will be waiting.
But I'm getting off track. The point is, the Void is very convincing. It doesn't stop or give up, and there's no point where a character is forever safe from falling to their whispers. They're just safe for now. So pretty much ever since Alleria decided to start using the Void, there's been this lingering fear that she's going to end up pretty much exactly like this. This fear is also amplified by contrast. When Alleria first got into the Void, she was with the Army of Light. The Naru Zera expressly forbade Alleria from dabbling with the Void, and later imprisoned her when Alleria refused to denounce it. Far more importantly, Alleria's lover, Thrall, is the most light-aligned person you can imagine. He has always been pretty pro-light to begin with, being one of the original paladins, but during the time with the Army of the Light, he was literally infused with the light, which granted him immortality. The light hates the Void. It's not very open-minded about it. So for Alleria, when she got into the Void, she was surrounded by people telling her how dangerous a bad idea this was, warning that she risked falling to evil. When Thrall first witnessed Alleria using the Void, this was how he responded.
What have you done?
The shadow. It saved us.
No. I would rather have died than see you fall to evil.
Now, to be entirely fair to Thrall, the man has been a bit of a champion when it comes to understanding. He was, unsurprisingly, initially shocked, but he also got over it. He would go on to work alongside Alleria, the two combining their powers of light and void to, torture prisoners for information. Alleria and Thrall tortured that smuggler in front of me. She used the void to infiltrate his mind while he held him prisoner with chains made from the light. It looked unspeakably painful. Yeah, it's weird how this happened in Shadows Rising, and we've never much spoken about it again. But I guess they were at war, and accountability only being for Horde characters aside, the point is Thrall stayed loyal and in love with Alleria. Thrall may believe in the light, but the evidence is that he kinda believes in Alleria more. When the two conflict, he's been pretty good about choosing Alleria every time. Even so, while Alleria doesn't seem to care much what the Naru thinks, she does worry about Thrall, but also her son, Arator. The few times that we witness Alleria really struggling with the Void, it's these names that come up. Alleria's relationship with Arator is already complicated. She and Thrall weren't around to raise him. they were all fighting their 1,000 years of war. By the time they returned, he was already grown, a stranger to her and a paladin, like his father. Both of the people Alleria loves the most are aligned with the cosmological force that believes her choice to work with the Void makes her irredeemably evil. Alleria knows that if she ever did fall to madness, she could hurt them. She also believes that, light-aligned as they are, they can't understand her decision to work with the Void. If she hurts them, it won't just be her own worst fears coming true. She will also be proving their worst fears right. But like Thrall, Alleria has largely soldiered on and not fallen to evil. I mean, apart from the occasional light torture. In the short story A Whisper of Warning, we even see how easily she brushes aside some of the Void's whispers. Turn around and leave. This place is full of enemies. Everybody hates you. Alleria ignored the whispers. When they were this foolish, it was easy. But not all of them. How easily they turn on you, like your true love has turned on you. You repulse Thrall. Your son fears you too. There's a lot of evidence that these whispers specifically are getting to Alleria. For a start, after years of remaining at Thrall's side, lately she's been keeping her distance. When she visits Arator at his home in Silvermoon and realizes Thrall is already there, she hesitates and listens to them talking about her, too frightened to interrupt them. She thinks she's a danger to us, Arator said sadly. And you think so too. See, they do fear you. And then when she thinks Thrall might voice his fears, she interrupts them, now too frightened to hear more. Your mother is the love of my life, and she is a complicated creature. Alleria could take no more. She grasped the summer-warm brass of the door knocker and looked to the sky as she knocked 3 times. Thrall's initial reaction also clearly bothered Alleria, because it's been one of Xal'atath's more successful weapons against her since. During the Hunt for the Harbinger questline, Xal'atath played Alleria a version of this scene, only with Thrall killing Alleria instead of accepting her.
I would rather have died than have you fall to evil.
I know. And yet my fate has not changed.
Oh, your greatest regret. Let's bring it to life, shall we?
No! This isn't what happened!
You have forsworn the light, Alleria, and so you are my enemy.
Later, when Xal'atath uses a corrupted image of Thrall to attack, Alleria finds herself unable to cope.
This is what you chose over the light? Over your family? How pitiful.
Do not speak with his voice, abomination!
End me, Alleria! Has the Void not given you the strength?
I can't do it!
Alleria, I see your weak heart. You cling to them still.
Begone from this place, Xal'atath!
Very well. I'll not overstay my welcome.
Locust Walker, Alleria's mentor, has always warned that Thrall was her weakness, and this is the point where she seemed to agree. Once, when a demon impersonated Thrall, she stabbed him in the throat without hesitation. Now, even knowing for sure that it was just a memory, she couldn't bring herself to harm an image of him. The whole thing results in Locust Walker giving her quite the I told you so lecture. And while once Alleria brushed off Locust Walker's concerns, telling him the shadow can't exist without the light, she now seems to agree with him. She separated herself from both Thrall and Arator. She worries she's a danger to them. The Void's whispers about it are getting to her. The problem is, this is isolating her. And if you want to know more about the tragedy of Alleria's current path, you should check out my analysis of her recent animated short. But for now, I'll just cover the highlights. Alleria and Thrall's strength has always been each other. They work very well together, as Horde torture victims can attest. They might not agree on everything, but it's their differences that makes them stronger. Locust Walker is wrong. Love isn't Alleria's weakness. It's been her strength. Separating her from Thrall has been one of the Void's more successful tricks. Alleria is also so caught up in her own head, she seems to be missing the evidence that Arator is more than just the paladin son of a paladin. During the Whisper of Warning story, it's revealed that Arator has a pair of matching tattoos. "When did you get those?" she said, daring to touch the dark dragon twining up his wrist. On his other arm, the dragon's sunny twin curled in perfect symmetry. One dark, one light. The symbolism is hardly subtle. Arator is the child of light and shadow, and the tattoos show he's willing to embrace his mother's shadow as well as his father's light. Alleria may think Arator could never understand her, but she also thinks he must stay safely in Silvermoon when Azeroth is threatened. She sees him as the child she abandoned to protect, but he's a grown man who will make his own decisions. So here's the big question. Do I see this horrific vision happening? Do I think Alleria will fall to the void and end up doing the thing she fears the most, killing her husband and son? Honestly, mostly no. I think it's a bit too obvious. If it happened, it wouldn't be surprising, but it'd also just be so predictable it'd feel like a bit of a letdown. Mind you, that's what I thought about Sylvanas turning into a monster like Arthas, so what do I know? Even so, I would be remiss not to mention one of the first things Arator told us when we met him back during the Burning Crusade. "I have one dream. A crimson skyline envelopes me as legion, numbering beyond comprehension, battle in the distance. I kneel before the body of a man, presumably my father, and weep. And he is gasping for air, his body wholly crushed. He whispers something. Despite every effort, I am unable to hear what he is trying to tell me." That could predict a now improbable future where the Legion has won, but the battle with the Legion being in the distance could also indicate this moment is distant from the war with the Legion, so after they've been defeated. Thrall tries to whisper a warning to Arator. Alleria is nowhere to be seen. The warning could be about Alleria. And it's close enough to what we see in the horrific vision of Stormwind for these two visions of Thrall's death to feel like maybe they are accurately predicting something about the future. It's also true that despite everything, the Void is gently winning the war against Alleria's mind. It's convinced her to isolate herself, to separate from her loved ones. It's done this in a way that works perfectly with her instincts. Alleria is big on leaving her loved ones in an attempt to protect them. Long before leaving Arator, she left her family back in Quel'Thalas while she chose to join the Second War. The lesson she will probably have to learn if she wants to avoid this future is that she has to stop running away from the vulnerability that her loved ones make her feel, and instead be brave enough to remain close to them, trusting not only herself and her ability to resist the Void, but trusting them to have faith in her. Now, apart from Alleria herself, Umbric is the main representative of the Void Elves. He was a Magister of Quel'Thalas, but he was exiled, along with his followers, for their insistence on studying the Void. He and the other Void Elves are now settled into Logres Rift and have pledged their loyalty to the Alliance.
Open the portals. Usher in a new era of the Void. Behold the majesty of the Void!
Like Alleria, Umbric is a bit of an obvious choice for a character that's fallen to the Void, and for obvious reasons. And again, because it's so obvious, I want to say it's also unlikely. But I do feel compelled to point out that Umbric is probably a very proud elf, and one who has suffered a lot of insults. In Silvermoon, Magisters tend to be very important, wealthy, and powerful. To be unceremoniously exiled the way he was must have been a grave insult to Umbric's status and pride. And I don't know if he cares about this sort of thing, but even though the other Void Elves were his followers first, Umbric can't help but be a bit overshadowed by Alleria and Locust Walker.
Will Lady Windrunner be leading further investigations?
I'm afraid she's
indisposed with her own mission at the moment.
Telegris needs her. She's supposed to guide us.
Alleria will return to us in time. But for now, you may seek Locust Walker for guidance.
Credit where it's due, Umbric hasn't acted exceptionally prideful. But still, I can't imagine it's been easy. If he ever does fall to the void, I could see the insults to his pride being a contributing factor. Mathias Shaw falling to the void is less obvious. The leader of the SI-7, Stormwind's Secret Service, Mathias has always been pretty much the picture of duty. But in this vision, he's become extremely paranoid, and seems to feel particular animosity towards Valera Sanguinar.
What do you mean Valera escaped? Find her. I want her dead before day's end.
My first thought is that poor Mathias is lonely. There's no Flynn Fairwind around to comfort him. Mathias also has a bit of a history with, should we say, roguish men. He used to be very close with Edwin van Cleef. They were childhood friends. And of course, that didn't end well. What with Edwin leading the criminal organization, the Defias Brotherhood, and all that. And Flynn is a bit of a scoundrel. So potentially, a betrayal from him could push Mathias over the edge. I don't think it's likely though. Flynn adores Mathias. Honestly, I think the vision of Mathias says more about Valera and her parallels to another very famous rogue, Garona Half-Orcan. Garona is a half-orc assassin that was sent to be an emissary to the Alliance. She bonded with them and gained their trust, but Gul'dan had placed chains in her mind that he used to force her to assassinate King Lane Rin. In certain ways, Valera is similar. Also an assassin, she's a blood elf, so traditionally would be more associated with the Horde, like Garona was. And she even has a history of losing control over her own actions. In her case, a demon was involved. But she was friends with Varian and acted as his bodyguard, and remains loyal to House Rin. I can see Mathias being at least a little bit uncomfortable with it all on some subconscious level, even if he doesn't usually show it. But as far as we know, all that business with the demon is well and truly in the past, and Valera is quite safe now. She's only dangerous because she serves looks that slay. Sorry, I apologize for that line. There was an attempt. My point is, goddamn, but she knows how to dress. Over to Orgrimmar. Here, the main vision shows us Thrall slipping into the weird orcish tendency to get everyone to drink blood.
Driven mad by N'Zoth's whispers, Thrall believes that the elements warn him of a disaster that only the old god can prevent. Now all of Orgrimmar drinks the blood of N'Zoth, twisting the Horde into a frenzied war machine.
The elements have spoken. Azeroth is doomed. The blood of the old god is our only salvation. You will drink, or you will die.
Look, Thrall's never going to get the orcs to drink old god blood. That's not something that's going to happen. But this horrific vision does still remind me of Thrall's biggest mistake and the inherent weakness behind it, as well as the major weakness that orcish society has had to grapple with. This vision is an obvious reference to the orcs drinking the blood of Manaroth. This was something many of the orcish clans of Draenor were convinced to do by Gul'dan during the time of the First Horde. The bloodlust it gave them made them next to unstoppable, but it also enslaved them to the Burning Legion. The orcs struggled with this blood curse for many years afterwards, until Grommash Hellscream sacrificed his own life to free them. The thing is, orcs can't help but feel at least a bit defined by their long history of conquest and war. To many orcs, the original Horde was the glory days, their very own Roman Empire. And the further away you get from something, the more deceptive nostalgia can be. Orcs drank demon blood because it made them powerful. It came with a cost, but many believe it made them great. There is actually a lot more depth and history to orc society, but it's been diluted by this tendency to define orcs only by their physical strength and history of conquest. Hellscream's own son, Garrosh, never learned to see past this shallow idea, and it made him very popular. In fact, that's the reason why Thrall chose him as war chief, despite other experienced and senior Horde leaders telling him it's a bad idea. Thrall believed that the Horde were crying out for a hero of old, and thought Garrosh represented some sort of glorious past. It wasn't quite drinking demon blood, but it was a similar mistake. In blind pursuit of strength, due to the weakness of insecurity, Thrall made a decision that ultimately damaged the Horde. Of course, Thrall also shares many similarities with Neltharion. He even acted as the aspect of Earth during the battle against Deathwing. His connection with the Earth means he does face the same risk of Old Guard influence. Even now, when they're all supposed to be conquered, their whispers still linger. So could this future happen? Yes and no. I don't ever see Thrall falling to the Old Guards like this, not even if something terrible happened to his family. But if the Old Guards do start offering immense power in exchange for drinking their blood, I do think a lot of orcs are predisposed to accept that deal. And now that the goblins have worked out how to stabilize black blood with Kajamite, which they also use to make Kaja-Cola, well, who knows what might happen in the future. We might end up with an army of insecure, cola-drinking, bloodthirsty losers clinging on to an idea of some great past that never actually existed. Imagine how stupid that would be. In this nightmare, Rexxar is loyal to N'Zoth.
You are but meat before N'Zoth's endless army, and it is time to feast. Your flesh will feed my beasts, and your soul will feed N'Zoth. Come, my pets, serve your master. My beasts will devour you. Hunt them down. N'Zoth commands more than mere animal.
Could this future happen? No. If you enjoyed this video, okay, I'll go into it a bit more. Rexxar is one of Warcraft's most classic heroes. He's half ogre and half orc, was never quite accepted by either, and played a major role in the founding of Durotar. He's a Beastmaster hunter, and unfortunately it's his pets that have been annoyingly forced on me with these latest talents that don't understand the appeal of a class that lets you tame your own pets, Blizzard. I'm sure Rexxar loves them very much, but I am so sick of seeing this goddamn bear and wyvern and pig. Let me change them already. Rexxar's kinda never been one to fall for promises of strength and conquest. He has a tendency to be a pacifist, and in fact found the old horde pretty disgusting. So no, I don't see him ever joining N'Zoth's endless army for any reason. The only part of this vision that's believable is he tries to feed us to his pets. Again, Rexxar's mostly a pacifist, but he does really love those beasts, and could decide their hunger is more important than everything else. As a fellow hunter, I get that. Now, for the most part, the rest of the vision of Orgrimmar just shows horrible futures where beloved characters have been threatened or murdered. Not really groundbreaking or interesting, just horrible. But I did want to touch on the vision of Zekhan and his fellow shaman in the Valley of Spirits, because he hits on something that's kind of happened, sort of.
You be here just in time. My brothers and sisters in the Valley of Spirits be in danger. N'Zoth's corrupted totems be driving our shaman mad with whispers from the void. We need to destroy them all. My brothers and sisters be free. But how can we ever be trusting the voices of the elements again?
This vision is comparatively cheerful. We help free the other shaman and defeat the corrupted elemental. But after being fooled once, Zekhan wonders how can they ever trust the voice of the elements again. That's the nightmare. And it's also a nightmare that a lot of trolls are currently living, not with the elements, but with the Loa. During Legion, as Vol'jin lay dying, the Loa came to him and whispered that Sylvanas must be the next war chief. He didn't particularly understand, he never trusted Sylvanas, but he did trust the Loa, so he went with it. Of course, during Shadowlands, we learned that the Loa who whispered to Vol'jin was Muzala, the Loa of Death, who had made a deal with the jailer. And that means trusting that Loa was a mistake, which begs the question, how can anyone trust the whispers of any Loa again? Sure, Muzala isn't the Loa of Death anymore, but it's not like his replacement, Bwonsamdi, inspires the most confidence either. I mean, I love Bwonsamdi, but he's literally a trickster. Either way, the point is that trust in the Loa has been broken. And for those who expect the Loa to guide their decisions, that must be quite terrible. I'd love the story to explore that dynamic more, if we ever get to see the trolls take a front and center role in the story ever again. But for now, I think I've gone on about these horrific visions long enough. If you've enjoyed this video, remember you can show me by liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, enabling notifications so you don't miss another video, all that good YouTube stuff. You can also support the channel directly on Patreon. Finally, you can find me on Twitch, where I'm always happy to talk about all things lore. So while that's all for now, hopefully I'll see you again soon.